Hey guys, a couple of you have asked me in recent months to talk more about my perception of an experience with the divine. Just because I've stated in several videos that I am what's often termed a hard polytheist. I haven't necessarily gone on to explain what that is, or what that means to me in my personal practices. So this is probably going to be a really awkward video because this is a heavy subject, and I don't script or make notes because frankly I'm too lazy. um, so when I say that I'm a hard polytheist, what I mean is that I see the gods, and I'm using the term gods very loosely because even that term makes me uncomfortable. Just because a lot of the traditions where these sorts of entities come from don't use words like that or words that are even comparable to that. So when I say gods, I'm being very, very general. Anyway, I see gods as being distinct entities. I'm willing to buy the idea that ultimately, you know, we're all one. If it's all just sort of this amalgamation of energy, and on some ethereal, unknowable, esoteric level, we're all one, reflections of some sort of all spirit or whatever, like that's fine, okay? But that doesn't mean anything to me personally. So maybe on some level we're all one, but the way I see it, just because you and I are human beings and maybe part of some sort of divine all, we're distinct individuals. I have my own experiences and preferences and habits, etc., that may have nothing to do with yours. We may have nothing in common otherwise. And my experience with the gods has been that it works the same way. Maybe on some sort of higher up, incomprehensible to me level, Hecate and Venus are the same. But on the ground running, my experience has been that that is definitely not the case. So that's how I work. Just like when you want to make a new friend, you have certain ways based on, maybe it's cultural, you know, looking to social norms, etc. You have certain ways that you go about introducing yourself, getting to know a person, forming some kind of bond with them, and that's going to vary depending on who you are and who they are. And my experience has been that it's the same way with gods. So I'm definitely not an archetypist. I've got some serious problems with that sort of view of the divine. An archetypist would be someone who thinks that the gods are maybe embodiments of elements of the human psyche. So like you take an archetype like the Great Mother, for example, or the Hunter, or I don't know. Sorry, I'm blanking here. Like wisdom or something like that. And you ascribe deities to these categories with the idea that wisdom for you might be embodied by Athena, or it might be embodied by Sophia or something else. But ultimately it's wisdom, right? And it's all about how you just approach wisdom and how relevant that is to your life. And I'm not saying that that's not a valid and productive way to do things and to approach things, okay? But my own experience with my own practices has shown me that that's not something that works for me, and that's not something that I personally see in my own practice and in my day-to-day life. It's just like my opinions about karma. I'm very much a show me kind of person. I need to have direct sorts of experience with things. I'm not a big giver of the benefit of the doubt. So for me, this realization, that's such a harsh word, this realization that the gods are unique entities stems from my practice with spirit possession. And I know spirit possession sounds like this big scary thing, but that's essentially what drawing down is in Wicca. It's a type of spirit possession. And I don't have a better term for it yet. Actually, this is part of the paper that I'm going to be presenting with the Pagan Studies at the AAR at the Pagan Studies group at the AAR in Chicago in November. It's about spirit possession and marginality, particularly in Afro-Caribbean traditions. So I spent a lot of time recently researching spirit possession, and having experienced these things, being a practitioner of various kinds of spirit traditions. My experience has consistently been that gods, and again I use the term gods loosely, are more like people than like archetypes. They have preferences, they have norms and expectations and habits and experiences that are not necessarily interchangeable. And I don't know, like I know a lot of people, and I know a lot of you guys, like to pick deities, and you know, you have patrons, and like maybe you'll call different kinds of deities into neo-pagan Wicca or Wiccan-esque kinds of environments, and if that works for you, that's fine. But that's never been my experience. I work with the Wiccan goddess and god, and I maintain that that goddess and god are unique and specific to Wicca. I mean, I think I've said in my videos, I'm a traditionalist, and Gardnerians and Alexandrians worship specific gods. And that's why, I've said this before too, this is why some BTW folks flip out on eclectic people and say that it's not really Wicca. I'm not coming down and saying that, okay? But we worship a specific god and goddess, and their names are oath-bound, okay? And if you're not worshiping that god and goddess, you're not practicing Gardnerian craft. Like, it doesn't mean that what you're doing is bad or wrong or invalid or whatever. It just means that you're not a Gardnerian. And most of you probably don't want to be a Gardnerian, so that's fine, okay, right? So the gods that I work with outside of those two deities, I do not incorporate into a Wiccan environment because they are not Wiccan. When I'm approaching Oya or Venus, I do not call them into a Wiccan circle and invoke elements, etc., because that's not the culture that the cultures that they come from, and the things that they expect of me, and the things that they have made clear to me that they prefer. And that might be different for you guys. I mean, I think these gods and spirits have all the power to ask different things of different people, okay? So I don't think that my way is necessarily the right way or the only way, etc. But when I say that I'm a hard polytheist, this is what I mean. So you can't really see it real well in my room, but I have a Wiccan altar. I have an altar to the Orisha I serve, and behind me, I've got a Venus altar. And I do very different things at each one of these, and I don't have any sort of personal internal conflict with practicing multiple traditions at once. I find that most people in the world don't. It's a very Western notion that you can only belong to one tradition and practice one religion. When I'm with my coven, or when I'm practicing as a Wiccan solitarily, I do things a particular way, and Oya and Venus are not involved, because my experience has shown me that they don't want to be involved. So, you know, and then I can turn around and I can do other things for other gods and spirits that don't have anything whatsoever to do with my being Wiccan. So anyway, that's my experience of the divine. So yes. I guess that's all. I'm sure I've kind of mangled this explanation and left a lot of stuff out, and I'll probably get lots of questions. But anyway, that's where I'm coming from. So when I say I'm a hard polytheist, that's what I mean. And that is all.